If there's one person the locals of Coronation Street would be wise not to upset, it's newcomer Maggie Driscoll. As the latest commanding figure behind the famous Newton and Ridley pumps, Maggie is fully settled into her position. She carries on the tradition of the formidable women before her, barking instructions, presiding over the pub like royalty, and refusing to tolerate nonsense from either staff or customers. Her intimidating presence alone is enough to keep most people in line. Fiercely protective of both her family and the wider community, Maggie rules with an iron grip. And being barred from the pub or on the receiving end of her sharp remarks would actually be the least of anyone's problems, because Maggie is also a killer. A special Christmas flashback confirmed this dark secret, revealing that she pushed her husband Alan down the stairs during a heated argument about her affair after he accused her of being manipulative and controlling. That ruthless streak surfaced again when she warned her daughter-in-law, Eva Price, not to challenge her. Maggie made it clear she would do absolutely anything for her family, even sacrifice her own life if necessary. Now, Steve McDonald may be the next person to feel her fury after he formed a friendship with Rovers landlord Ben. Viewers know Steve is usually inseparable from Tim Metcalf, but their bond became strained earlier in the week when Steve quickly bonded with the pub's new boss, chatting about rugby, much to football-mad Tim's annoyance. When Tim was unwell in Friday's episode, Steve headed back to the Rovers for darts and conversation with his new pal, Ben. But their growing friendship clearly irritated Maggie, who watched them closely all evening. Eventually, losing patience, she tried to end their fun by urging Steve to head home. When he ignored her and ordered another drink, Maggie had no choice but to serve him, though not without giving both men a frosty look of clear disapproval. So, why has Steve drawn her hostility? Is she worried he might be a bad influence on Ben after his recent health scare? Or does she fear she'll have to compete with him, as well as Eva, for her son's attention? Whatever the reason, Steve would be wise to stay alert. When Maggie decides someone needs removing from her world, they tend to disappear long before they can even ask for another pint. Steve should be very, very careful. Coronation Street delivered a puzzling moment in tonight's episode, leaving viewers questioning what really happened during a late-night break-in. The alarm suddenly blared as a mysterious figure moved through the darkness, but their true motive remains unclear. After closing time, an unidentified intruder slipped inside the shop and triggered the security system while creeping behind the counter. Rather than searching for money, however, the culprit went straight for something very specific, a treasured rare book belonging to Brian Packham, before quickly making their escape. The precision of the theft suggests it wasn't random, putting suspicion on only a handful of possible suspects. One person who has recently clashed with Brian is Lily Platt, who lost her paper round earlier in the week. After getting the job, she irresponsibly dumped the newspapers, which were later returned by Hope Dobbs. Even after being told to apologize, Lily refused to back down and angrily rejected Brian's authority. Later, she vented to her step-aunt Jodie Ramsay, mocking her former boss and complaining about his obsession with his ridiculous book. When Hope arrived, Jodie suggested Brian and Rita Tanner had treated Lily badly when she tried to make things right. Hope disagreed, pointing out they had always supported her, even helping her work toward the Duke of Edinburgh's award. But Jodie hinted they might not be so kind behind her back. Hope later overheard the shopkeepers discussing her troubled history. Although Rita praised her progress, Brian made a harsh remark about her father, John Stape, calling him a dangerous psychopath. Hurt and angry, Hope confronted them, only for Brian to make matters worse by waving his book at her and telling her to read more to improve her mind. Feeling insulted, she stormed out. With both girls clearly upset with Brian, either of them could have taken the book in retaliation. But another possibility remains. Could the manipulative Jodie be responsible, deliberately setting things up so Lily and Hope would take the blame? Fans of Coronation Street have been sharing the same opinion about Carl Webster, as the troublemaker continues to create chaos on the cobbles, and now appears to be heading toward a possible murder storyline. The character only arrived in Weatherfield last year, despite previously being mentioned for years. Carl was believed to be the son of Bill and Elaine Webster, born in Germany while they were living there. But when he was 9, Bill returned to Weatherfield after Elaine's affair. A shocking truth has since emerged. Bill and Elaine were never his biological parents. Debbie Webster revealed she is actually Carl's mother, not his half-sister, as he had always believed. Carl uncovered the truth while confessing his guilt over the crash that killed Billy Mayhew. He had allowed Debbie to take the blame, even moving her into the driver's seat after the accident to make it appear she was responsible. Debbie had already pleaded guilty to dangerous driving and causing Billy's death to protect her son. But once Carl discovered she was his mother, he turned against her, leaving her husband Ronnie Bailey and brother Kevin Webster furious. Debbie later confirmed to both men that Carl had been telling the truth about their relationship. Things escalated when Ronnie and Kevin forced Carl to the police station, hoping he would confess to framing Debbie. Instead, Carl accused Ronnie of assault and reported him to DC Kit Green. With no clear evidence, the officer ruled that none of them could be charged. Meanwhile, Carl slept with newcomer Jodie Ramsay, who suggested they were alike, both wanting revenge on their families for past wrongs. Viewers have been outraged by Carl's behavior, especially as Debbie, who was diagnosed with dementia last year, has already begun serving time in prison. Despite this, many fans have praised Jonathan Howard for his gripping portrayal of the villain. However, Carl's future on the cobbles may be uncertain. He has been named as one of 5 possible victims in an upcoming murder storyline set to unfold in the coming months. A flash-forward scene showed Betsy Swain telling detectives she discovered the body of someone she knew. She had been dressed for the wedding of her mother Lisa Swain and Carla Connor when she made the shocking discovery. As the story returned to the present timeline, viewers began to see how tensions involving several characters could lead to a deadly outcome. Alongside Carl, the potential victims include Megan Walsh, Theo Silverton, Maggie Driscoll, and Jodie, each with enemies and motives that could make them targets in the dramatic murder ahead. A painful moment unfolds for Shona Platt as she opens her heart to Bethany Platt in Coronation Street. The year has already been filled with turmoil for Shona and her husband David Platt. Their lives were thrown into chaos when they were caught up in the Corrie crash at the beginning of January. Both were taken to hospital, but the biggest concern was Shona's pregnancy. Thankfully, Shona, David, and their baby daughter Harper all pulled through. However, Harper has remained in hospital since birth, needing a blood transfusion and surgery on her neck. The ongoing worry has left Shona and David trying to balance home life with constant hospital visits, an exhausting and emotional strain. As if that weren't enough, Shona's sister Jodie Ramsay has reappeared in her life. Shona has welcomed the reunion, partly because she still feels guilty for leaving home as a teenage mother, something that left Jodie alone with their troubled parents. But while Shona is trying to rebuild their bond, she has no idea her sister is secretly holding a grudge. Jodie is determined to make her pay for abandoning the family years ago. She has already fabricated stories about an abusive past and has begun scheming to drive a wedge between Shona and David by trying to seduce him. Her resentment grows even stronger when she overhears Bethany and Maria Connor praising Shona and David as the perfect couple. Fueled by jealousy, Jodie once again makes a move on David. When he comes home, she pretends to be searching for Shona's wedding ring behind a chair and asks for his help, clearly enjoying the closeness when he kneels beside her. Later in the week, she stirs more tension by accusing David of neglecting housework, hoping to spark conflict between the couple. Meanwhile, Shona confides in Bethany that she barely spends time with David anymore because their lives are so hectic. Bethany comes up with an idea to help, but whether Jodie will interfere again remains to be seen. Executive producer Kate Brooks has already hinted that Jodie's arrival is meant to shake things up and create serious disruption. She has described Jodie as a complex troublemaker with hidden motives, warning that viewers should watch closely because her secrets are set to explode and bring major drama to the Platt family. Coronation Street airs on weekday nights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1, and viewers can also watch episodes online via ITVX.